Hey, this is Jeff welcoming you to our final episode in the pilot for The Assembler, the little experiment show that I was running to figure out what I want the assembler to be. So, before we jump into the pilot, I'd like to say what the results of the experiment were. I think the panel format that we had for the three-part pilot was interesting, having a bunch of people around a microphone talking about issues that were important to them in art and technology was an interesting idea. I think it still might be right for a show called The Assembler. That being said, I don't know if the show that I want to claim as my show where I go out and I pursue ideas that interest me, and I try to present them in an interesting format with a unique voice. I don't know if that is this show or not. So this might be The Assembler, and the next episode we do of this may be a whole year from now. It could be a few months from now. I don't really know yet. I'm not in a position to take up a weekly show, is one of the things, by the way, that I've learned through this process, is that maybe I need to hold off on doing a weekly show. So I think The Assembler will be back. I know it will be back because I do consider it sort of a tentpole of what I'm trying to do. I'm just not sure if it's going to be back like this, or if it's going to be something different, or if I'm going to create a new show that is something entirely different and continue The Assembler as a quarterly or yearly panel show like this one is. So we'll see. Lots of interesting stuff for me to think about until then. In the meantime, I will say the next thing that's coming up is we'll be re-releasing Art Technique Podcast. And these are the original episodes. I haven't changed them. I haven't altered them. And they will be coming out on the same day they originally broadcast. Except, obviously, this year, instead of 2000 and I think it was 12 and 13 that the original ones aired. Instead, we'll be starting the new old episodes, on 2016, but the same day they were originally released. So, for example, if an episode came out in April 1st of 2013, then it would come out in April 1st of 2016. So, there you go. Okay, without further ado, let's hop into part 3, where we wrap everything up. We make a few recommendations for some interesting stuff that is out there, and we send everyone on their way. So thanks for being a part of this little experiment, and I look forward to seeing you with whatever incarnation this show takes on next. So I hope you join me then. Thanks.
And our rights. I want Charles in charge of me. I don't know the tune, but it's I'm glad I got that as the words. Well, welcome back.
I know words.
Welcome back. We are in round 3, act 3, whatever we want to call it.
Day 3
of the show.
Let us out. You fucked us in here for 3 days.
Another fee for 3 days.
This podcast will be in a nice 3-act structure.
That's right. As you can tell by the Charles in Charge enthusiasm in the room, we've had quite a lively act break. Where's my coffee? There it is. We had quite a lively act break, and I do want everyone to answer the question that we posed right before, which was, what are you really into right now? But I don't want to lose this. Aaron, I'm not asking you to recreate a moment here, but I do want to say you had a really interesting philosophy about people making things, and if you just wouldn't mind sharing it.
I want people to make all the things all the time without judgment, without expectation, without need for it to be seen. I think that can be a part of things, but I want everyone to be creating, whether it's in a fan art style, whether it's in an original art style, whether it is. The thing I compared was the coloring book craze that's hitting. It's this safe, protected way to be creative in this environment where we don't necessarily feel rewarded or protected, allowed to be creative. We go and we get day jobs and we focus on that. And we should all be able, you go into a kindergarten class and you ask, who here can sing? Who here can dance? Who here can draw? Who here can X? And every hand in the room goes up. You go into a third grade class and a third of them go up. You go into a 5th grade class, that one kid who's been taking lessons in that thing will raise their hand, and we all can sing. We can all dance. We can all draw. We can all write. Can we all do it on a level that is quote unquote professional? That a major paying audience wants to see? I don't know. Most of them are skills. They come with talents, but they are skills, and you can get better than whatever degree you start from. But that shouldn't matter. Go out, sing in the streets, dance. If you want to do it in your apartment where nobody sees, nobody judges, that's fine too. But do and create and build and focus on the creative side, the generation of ideas, of movement, of art, of structure, of any of that. And then the second half of that I was sort of getting the laughs at from the group around me
This
was
is the bumper sticker.
I don't necessarily want to see it. But that doesn't mean I don't want you out there creating every chance you get and finding chances that you don't get and doing it anyway. And so I'm really wanting more people to do that thing that they like doing, but they can't do it well enough to do it professionally, so they don't do it at all. Or whatever that is. Write, paint, sing, dance, do it, create, have fun.
But isn't it funny that, because you brought something up about school, and there was something I read the other day that really struck a chord with me, and it's in school, when you're younger, you have to take, music and art and whatever. And it's like, if you're not good at it, oh, that's okay. You'll be good at something else. But if, you're not good at math or science, then, oh, well, you're not smart or you're not trying hard enough. And it's sort of, we don't set up our social structure. And it's sad to cater to everyone who thinks differently, And it's like, if you're really great at science and that's really your passion, then we should, do that. But if writing and literature and music is really your thing, then we should give you the tools to explore that. And schools and education has sort of become about math and science and numbers and not about creativity. And so we've cut a lot of creative programs, and how sad that is. So people then have fear about creating because they were told, oh, well, that's not practical, because if you don't know science and math, then you won't be successful, and that's not how society needs you to be. And so we've created...
And thank goodness we've added, STEM education has just re-become STEAM education, which puts the A of art back into...
Oh, so you can download it on your Mac or your PC, and you can play
if the properties have approved it, no, but STEAM education reintegrates that creative element, and I agree wholeheartedly, and add the element that, oh, you're not great at singing? Okay, we'll do it anyway if you want. Oh, but you're really great at science? Great, do that as well.
Right.
I saw the Facebook meme, I'm sure everybody did, just the last couple of days, the Old Navy t-shirts that said, I'm an aspiring artist, and then it was sort of stroked out, and it had astronaut or
president.
And, well, the very first thing is, the first time I saw it is I didn't see it as a strikeout of artist. I saw it as an augmentation of artist. And I apparently had a very different reaction. I was so excited about these shirts, and then I saw my Facebook feed explode by all my artist friends who were like, how dare they not be artists? And I'm like, well, being a president is being an artist, and being an astronaut is being an artist. And I saw it as, because they weren't solidly stroked out, they had these paint smears across them. And who knows what the original design was intending, which, perhaps reflects on the original design, but...
or designer.
But we assume it's a committee because it's from Old
I just
Navy.
want to raise the question real quick. So is the president, as an artist, performing his art for an audience to evoke an emotional response?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
you're always, stroking those constituents.
Sometimes literally.
Sometimes literally.
Sorry, I derailed you. I'm sorry.
But I was interested that everybody saw it so clearly as a stroke out. I saw it as this sort of this highlight on artist, and then the next level that, I am an aspiring artist because I'm an aspiring president, not because I'm an aspiring astronaut. But I see where the other read comes from. But I think it's interesting in that we do have this sort of divide that doesn't necessarily need to be there of if you can't do it well enough, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
And go find the thing you're really good at. And I'm like, do both
How are you going to find out if you're good at it?
Exactly.
How are you going to find out if you're good at it if you're not making all these mistakes and all these, I don't know,
But
or if you even like it.
And I say this as an evangelist that I am still trying to live the life myself because, you take me and ask me to sing in public and I shut down pretty hard.
Right.
Like the exact same as hire me as an actor and have me deliver these lines. And I'm like, sure, fine, whatever. But we're going to play this music under you while you do it.
Right.
And so I acknowledge I am still fighting this battle internally. I am preaching from the foot of the mountain, not from the top of the mountain.
but you're also saying it's okay to just try stuff, and we do get in our own ways, and we do set up our own barriers. And I know that like I'm literally the guy that made a video where I looked into a camera and I told you to do a thing, like, and you should just do the thing. And okay, so what? So it's there's a lot happening in our lives, and it's not that easy to just do something. And that's true, it's not. But it's also true that, it kind of is, actually. Because if I'm drawing my comic every day and I am unable to draw a page, or for whatever reason life happens and I miss drawing a page that day, okay, I didn't get a page out that day. I feel crummy about it. I do. I always do. I could probably too crummy about it. But the thing is that, like, it really is as simple and as hard and as simple as the next day. Well, go try again. Go try to get the page out today. Did you do it? Because you keep doing it. At some point, you're going to win, and you are going to get the page out.
And I like
on
that
a
it
day.
wasn't that you said the challenge. The response is I have to get 2 pages out tomorrow. No,
Right,
no.
The level is 1 page.
When
a
I
day.
learned to meter myself that way, it helped a lot.
You give yourself permission to allow yourself to have freedom that you don't. That you didn't grow up with, right? Like you give yourself permission and freedom to try something new, or to forgive yourself for not creating the thing that day, but it will happen again tomorrow or something.
So, before the break, I asked everyone to think of something that they're really into now that they would like people to know about, or would like me specifically to know about, that they don't think I would find on my own, or that they're not convinced that people are finding on their own. And I'd love to just find out what those things are. What are you guys into? I can start if you want. I'll start. Adam, I think you should check out 2 shows by John Roderick. Okay. And I will send you a link in the show notes. One is called Road Work, and there's a specific episode I'm going to send you. And another is Roderick on the Line. Roderick on the Line is a really, really great show. There is no wrong episode to jump into. It's just a phone call with his friend, and they kind of go all over the place. I'll try to pick one to get you started. Okay. But understand that I'm literally just picking one out of, this is just how the show is. So I'll send them to you. But I think you would enjoy his view on life, and I don't know that you would go find it on your own. So I'm going to send that to you. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So that can be how we play the game. So does anyone else have any ideas?
I'm really into sea folklore again, Irish sea folklore and folklore from different countries about sea and sea creatures. A while back I was writing a play, and I sort of got distracted with other things, but I recently got a Nook for Christmas and have downloaded all of these new Irish stories and things, and so I'm really excited about that and delving into the land of Selkies and Merrin and the Finn folk.
Do you have a specific book recommendation out of those that you would like me to read?
Right now? No, I don't. I just downloaded a whole bunch yesterday. I haven't I saw titles and I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool, great. Some of them are children's stories because I think a lot of, if you know anything about Irish stories, storytelling was really big, and so a lot of these have been adapted from other things, but just
okay. Well, I'll try to grab a list of books, and I'll.
You put them in the notes. Yeah. So that's what's really
Well, there we go. Selkie stories.
Selkies.
I misunderstood the prompt. I think.
Okay. No, then just give me what you thought it was. That's fine.
So I was hearing, what are you into right now? And so I was thinking about my own work and what I'm into and what I'm looking for in what I'm creating. And I have discovered very much recently, and this is perhaps a part of the battle against cynicism, is moments of wonder in experiences and theatrical experiences, particularly because that's what I do. But, I'm sure you could take this philosophy into visual arts and sculptural arts and written arts and all sorts of other forms and presidency and what was the other one? Astronauting. Astronauting.
Sounds like yachting. Astro yachting.
I imagine you could find a moment of wonder or two while being an astronaut. It seems like that's a possibility.
Have you followed like Commander Kelly's Instagram feed or any of their Instagram feeds up there on the ISS?
No, not regularly. I'll see
It's
one
worth
that
it.
When a post goes out that like gets the
If you're into
going.
that, it's worth it. Forget the ones that make the buzz. Those are of course great, but just to every day see
the moments of space
in your feed and to understand that is contemporary and that is happening and that there are real people taking that picture and like you are there and like it's a nice little refresher every day.
Fantastic. Yeah, so what I'm into is trying to find moments that get past a modern audience's cynicism. And one of the ways I've been particularly exploring right now is I've been working magic tricks into shows. And not in like a stop the show, watch this magic trick kind of way. I almost want you to not notice the do something a big magic trick that's done so small and incidentally and tells the story that for just a moment, like even if it's a really obvious magic trick and you go, oh, he must have had it in his sleeve or whatever, but that first moment of, oh, that's the only moment I care about. That. Or just you have that suspension and that moment of wonder, that moment of experience that gets past your guard. That's what I'm into right now.
Because you did that in the last show you directed, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Sprucey?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because it was it had some scriptural issues. Sorry. Take two. It had some scriptural issues that needed some like smoothing out, in my opinion, and to have the kids and the adults and experience a moment where they're drawn in beyond their expectations, beyond the I know it's a Christmas story, so it's all going to be resolved happily, and this is going to, and to just catch you unawares for just a moment is really interesting and important to me, and so that's what I've been playing with lately.
It's like magical realism.
Yeah, in moments, but where you only notice the realism, and the magical thing happens below the awareness radar, and then you look back a second later, and oh, that shouldn't have been possible. Yeah, but in the magical realism realm, and so I'm very into that right now, and exploring that and how to utilize it. And one of the things I've discovered particularly is using some of the theater for young audiences skills and tropes, for lack of a better word, and moments that we trust kids will appreciate because they watch the show they're seeing rather than the show they expect to see. And forcing an adult audience to break out of their habitual patterns and how they watch a show, and getting them in those same sort of ways that we allow a theater for young audience show to be explosive and vibrant and weird and impolite and against the rules, that we don't always necessarily, again, for sometimes commercial reasons, sometimes for expectation reasons, sometimes because it's not cool to be totally invested in this idea. You have to be invested in the idea with a nudge and a wink. And so I've been playing with the ideas of bringing some of that theater for young audience mindset to an adult audience and inviting them to watch a show again in a different way.
That was a good answer. Scott, what are you into? In whatever way you interpreted the question. Because I like that. Because that actually was one of the styles of answers I was really hoping for.
Great.
I I think one of the things I want to start doing with what I'm writing creatively is I am sick to death of, man, that's really dark. That makes it good. Star Wars Episode 3 was really dark, so that made it the best one. No, those two things are not necessarily joined at the hip. I like watching Game of Thrones, for instance, in small doses because it is so morally ambiguous, and it's very well done. But my life is morally ambiguous. There are times when, for all of us, where our lives are dark, and we have to turn on the news and listen to the evil that people do to each other every day. And when I am making something, I reject that reality and insert my own in a way. And maybe that's pompous, but I don't care. It's supposed to be something that's different, so I don't have to deal with that for a while. And maybe that's a little escapist, but I don't care. That's what I want to do without it being cheesy and hokey. And like you and Jeff and you, Aaron, were saying, it's cynicism is part of that, where it's nothing can just be genuine and honest. It's like, oh, you want to talk about how good will overcome evil? That's, yeah, okay, we got it, right. Just as a for instance.
Well, and yet you see something like the new Star Wars, which felt magical again, and to me anyway.
Yeah. And
anyway,
that was,
not to derail.
No, that's fine, and that's a good example of something that was put there, and it wasn't morally ambiguous. There were good guys, there were bad guys.
Morally difficult, yes. People struggling with more difficulties, but not, yeah. Sure.
But right. People struggling with it, but that's different from what you're presenting as the reality of everything in this universe is morally gray. There really is no good. There really is no bad. All of us just die. That's not what I want to consume, and that's not what I want to produce.
Certainly not exclusively. And when it becomes that this is what makes a thing cool right now,
Right.
it becomes almost an exclusivity.
There will be, I hope there will be stories that I tell that are that way, but I want those to be the minority because of things I do, because sometimes I do feel that way, and I need to look at that part of myself and maybe everybody else if it's there, and deal with it and talk about it and whatever. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Is there a particular piece of work, yours or someone else's, that you would recommend that I would check out that is a good example, or even one that I've seen that I should re-examine that you think is doing it right?
Yes, it's called Star Trek, especially
Okay,
the Next Generation.
Well,
because Star Trek, it has a way of being optimistic, and we can overcome our problems and that sort of thing without being hokey. It had a good way, I think, of getting into moral and ethical issues and talking about them. And it was hokey sometimes. I mean, let's be real about it. But
if this were Sarah and Adam show, I would go challenge you to find a piece of work that's not Star Trek that's hopeful, because I know it's out there. But like, I'm interested in enriching my own.
I mean,
yeah, I think it is. It is.
That's one of the things they say about the reason Star Wars Episode 4 did so well when it did, because everything else at the time was, Charles Bronson movies, and Dirty
dark,
Harry,
gritty revenge sort of things.
Watergate had just happened, and all this sort of thing, and in that Vietnam, and that was what the stories were being told. And Star Wars was clean, and it said, good people can prevail over bad times. You can do it. And
Until the Force gets pissed off and wants to swing things the other way.
That's right. That's right. The Force is a temperamental bitch. Speaking of, Adam, do you...
Yeah? What?
No, what's something that's ticking your clock these days?
Something that's stuck in my clock. I've been thinking about. I've been gravitating a lot towards watching a lot of foreign films again. as you've probably seen popping up on your Hulu subscription.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So it would be easy if you had a recommendation for me to check one
Sure.
out.
Well, actually, yeah, I'm in the middle of one. I was talking to Aaron about it on the drive last night, and I only got halfway through it before the cold medicine kicked in, and I had to go to bed. But anyway, one thing I really like, I think, about a lot of foreign films, and especially, I think it's generally been true of foreign films, and each one, even newer ones. This one came out in 2015. There's more reliance on the visual element of film and storytelling, the visual aspect of storytelling in foreign films, as opposed to relying on the dialogue so much. And I really like that and appreciate that, especially one, because you have to read the words to understand what they're saying. And so, but I think honestly, most of the time, most of the films that I've sought out, even if those subtitles weren't there, I feel I would understand what was going on. And I don't know, I feel I gravitate more and more towards nonverbal sort of storytelling. And part of that is because of a challenge that I've got going on right now. We're about to start rehearsals for a new piece that was written through a devising class that I'm teaching at Children's Theater of Charlotte with students. And the script has some challenges in the way it was created. It feels like there are sort of two kind of conventions going on that are kind of fighting each other right now. And we have 3 weeks to rehearse it and figure it out, and so I have to figure it out because it's a very short, intense rehearsal process. But that being said, I think maybe part of the reason why I've been gravitating towards these foreign films again in the last couple of months is because I knew as the script has been being developed, the problems were inherent there, and working with the playwright a little bit, well, what if we change this? And I think it got to a better place, but it is what it is. This is the script we've got. And so we have to put this script up, and it may change at some point in the future. But so going back to that, it feels like being very intentional with our physical choices and having this sort of very grounded, sort of realistic story that's being told about this girl going through foster care. But then there's this other sort of inner landscape, monologue, dialogue, whatever that's going on inside her, and how do you communicate that? And so it's I don't know, it's almost like you've got two completely different styles of language that sometimes feel like they're fighting each other. But
Puppets.
we don't have time or budget for puppets. Unless I treat my actors as puppets. That sort of uber marionette thing.
It works. It works.
treat
Let me.
Yeah.
Who was the Uber marionette guy? What was his name?
I forget.
You're
right.
Craig.
Something Craig.
Something Craig.
Yeah. I remember
His last name.
Craig Marionette. Craig Muppet.
No, I don't know.
Craig.
Maxa? No.
It was something German because of course a German.
Maximilian? Maximus?
So Craig Volkswagen.
Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember Jim Morrow, my roommate, he really liked that idea. I don't think he embraced it and wanted to see it, but he just thought that was fascinating, and he really held on to that idea for a while. Yeah. So
I think Uber marionettes are a fantastic idea. I don't think they're a fantastic idea to replace actors on a straight across the board.
You just like puppets with superpowers.
Yes, and big puppets. I like big puppets, and I cannot lie.
Well, why do you think Uber marionettes are great? Why do you think that's a great concept?
I think for the right show, it would be fantastic. But I think that, for me, puppets, you can't just put a puppet in a show because, wouldn't it be neat to have a puppet here? But say you were doing an Alice in Wonderland script, and in one scene you wanted to shrink Alice and you made her a tiny puppet, but in one scene you wanted to have Alice shrunk by making the entire rest of the cast giant puppets. That seems like it would be a cool, useful way to bring in Uber marionettes, even if it was just the feet.
Right.
So big that all you see is her working around the feet of characters.
Or if you're doing the Power Rangers musical and you can do a magic wand, make my monster grow.
Yes,
and
then you switch out the actor for the Uber marionette.
Yeah. I don't know, what else is maybe cooking in your brain today?
it was interesting, and this seed was planted within the first couple of minutes of us podcasting. And the two names that were thrown out were Van Gogh and Emily Dickinson in terms of artist.
And yeah, it feels like days ago now.
So I know it was weeks, months ago. And so, my definition of art is one that has sort of intention behind it and has an audience and has a receiver to it. Van Gogh's sort of circumstance is interesting because obviously he was a painter. He was seeking patronage. He found it in limited ways. But his body of work was not really sort of didn't catch on and didn't explode and wasn't sort of elevated until after he died. And then Emily Dickinson in particular, her poems were for herself and sharing for her sister. And it was only because somebody pulled it out after she died that her body of work is sort of elevated into this sort of, artistic and literary canon. And so I've been rolling this around in my head, and I still don't have an answer. But is what Emily Dickinson did art then?
Your definition.
Again, it's. I'm trying to fit it into my definition, so everyone else has their own opinion. So I'm curious to say, but here, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. I'd never thought about that
because you had said even if someone draws a picture and just gives it to you, you consider that art.
Pose for her sister,
but she,
right?
Yeah.
So, because, someone, we were talking about drawing the picture, so I don't,
But I guess it was sort of that, yeah, but then that was, I don't know, but then taking that conversation out of between her and that other person, you know what I mean? Her intention was never to share it with any person.
The audience changed.
The audience changed. Maybe, yeah, that's a
But she still did make it from an audience. I think there's a slightly different thing to explore of what happens when your intentions don't match the results, and in this instance, like the audience change. Yeah. I wrote one thing for one person who I have a very specific relationship with, who will get all of my references and sensibilities.
Again, I don't think all of the poems necessarily were, but that was the only person that I think she shared with. I think I may be mistaken.
She was. She got more and more. She became more and more of a recluse as time went on because she used to be very social. She went to school for botany and stuff. I did a report on Emily Dickinson. That's the only reason I know this. Yeah. This and then I forget something happened and she just sort of some life event and it was too much and she stayed around her family home and wrote these things and I don't think she was closed off from her family, but I think it was just a way of her to kind of instead of writing a diary, I guess she wrote these poems and they turned out to be a real treat. But also, as soon as you put something out there, whether it's for yourself or not, then you've done your job, and then how people interpret it.
But she didn't put it out there.
She didn't put it out there, though. It was
but she did. She put it in a drawer. So she got it out of herself, right? You know what I mean? Okay. She got it.
Oh, okay, out into the universe.
Yeah. She put it not hey, look at this, but she.
I was going to say putting it in a drawer sounds like the least putting it out there way.
Yeah. Right, but she got the ideas out of her head and onto something. So out of her, and then at that point, it's sort of whatever happens, you don't have control over. You know what I mean? We create all this art and stuff, and then one day we're all gonna die. So
what if
we lose control? I don't know.
What if bring it back to the George Lucas thing, tying all that together? What if you personally, the thing that you made that you not only liked the least, but fervently hated and put away in a figurative drawer somewhere, became the thing that you were known for, that everyone loved? Your audience changed. Your intended audience was no audience. This is garbage. And then everyone loves it. What would you do, theoretically, if you found yourself in that situation? And can we think of anyone who actually has?
I think of Christopher Robin. I think of A. Milne's son, because they were all based on his imaginary characters, and Christopher Robin, the real Christopher Robin, felt very violated from his father because it was they were his story and his imagination, but that A. Milne took it and created magic and joy for, whatever. So I don't know. I just
related. A little different than what I'm asking, but definitely related. But something that you intentionally created that you actively, and I don't know Christopher Robin's creative role in the stories.
The inspiration for it, I guess, or maybe the motivation behind why those stories were created, because he was creating them for his.
But I mean, it's a good thing that you brought up, because it's definitely a parallel idea of like you have to live with this thing that you never wanted, So you created a thing, and you have to live with a thing you never want.
Well. But I think you can always change. I mean, I think of Mark Wahlberg, who started out as Marky Mark in the Fresh Bunch?
Funky Bunch.
Funky Bunch.
Let the old gentleman school you.
No, but but you know what I mean? And he started as that, and it was very comical, and that was a certain fan base, and then
Jamie Foxx.
Right, and so he evolved beyond that and said, okay, well, yeah, I did that, but now I'm doing this now, and you know what I mean? So it's like...
Maybe I'm just asking, what would make Bill Murray crazy?
I think I have... I was trying to rack my brain, but I think I've got one. Jim Varney. Who was Ernest?
Yeah.
He was from Kentucky, and when I was living there, I knew people that had worked with him in summer stock and things when they were younger. And he apparently was a classically trained actor and was known for doing kind of the Shakespeare circuit in a lot of regional theaters. And that was his sort of passion and his drive. And he wanted to be this serious, classically trained actor. That was what he, and then he created this Ernest character, and the Ernest character caught on, and suddenly he was nothing but Ernest. He could not book anything else because no one could see beyond this character, this one character he created, and so he was kind of trapped by it, and he was apparently incredibly frustrated by it. He came to peace with it, I think, a little bit as he got older, but it was apparently very frustrating for him for years because it was just this one little thing that he created, and then, they probably came at him with a little bit more money and said, hey, will you make this Ernest movie? Okay, I'll make this Ernest movie. Ernest Goes to Camp, and okay, I'll make this other one, and then all of a sudden, no one can see him as anything else. So.
But that's his own doing, because, I mean, nothing stopped him from going beyond. I don't know,
But my original answer, and I was going to say I have a very honest answer, I would cash the check and do whatever I wanted in the afternoon.
Right.
And, that is what if it's so far into this beloved thing that it paints you into a corner more than I was envisioning, where it was like, yeah, that's one of the things I do, and yeah, we make fun of it, but I get to sleep on that big pile of money tonight, so But, what happens if it gets to the point where it's intrusive and inhibitive of that other work I would do with all this big pile of money. But I would like to, if I wasn't able to continue as an actor because of some character I created, there are other creative venue paths that I am interested in, and maybe I could pursue one of those. But I have a rather high desire for somehow the work I want to do to be work that pays me ridiculously well. And that may not be the purest of intentions, but it's true and it's in me, and it's...
But it enables you to do more work.
But I also think we live in the generation now where you like we were talking about, everyone can create their own work now, and with social media as what it is now and whatever, and YouTube, like anyone can, like actors who are well known for one thing, be like, yeah, let's get together and do this independent film, and then, now I'm seen in a different light, and I would say, like, even 10 years ago, we didn't have necessarily that outlet, but social media has sort of birthed a new way or whatever. I don't know.
You never really would have thought Robin Williams would have been seen as anybody but Mork from Ork. But by the time he passed, I mean, he was known as a pretty good, serious actor with, like, Dead Poets Society and such. Yeah. Steve Carell is kind of getting into that area too, where he's gone from just being this kind of wacky comedian into more serious roles that apparently the performances are pretty good. Jim Carrey's, I thought The Truman Show I thought he did pretty well in it, but nobody really thinks of that when they think of a Jim Carrey movie. It's always, Ace Ventura or The Mask or some wacky crap.
Coming back to the Old Navy dust up, the idea of the I don't know why I'm getting so the cutting through the artist line. It feels like, I think we're right. The assessment is that the general sort of culture is why should I invest time in this? I mean, that's the problem with school, right? Why should I invest time in this thing that is not what I'm not being graded seriously on or whatever? And so we don't allow ourselves time to play, but then when we get out, we have to survive. So we have to put time towards this, a job. And sometimes even if we did have the mindset of, okay, well, let's just keep creating an art for art's sake and do it, you may not have time or desire or energy at the end of the day to keep on doing it. And so I don't know, maybe there's some like shades of like, privilege, and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I'm phrasing the question quite right, but
the realities of what you have to do every day to survive trump your physical energy
to create,
ability to
and so
create.
I've just seen a lot of arguments against that. It feels like we have a generation of people where we're telling them to find what you love, and if you're lucky, get paid at it, instead of saying get a job, support yourself. And if you want to make crap, make this other stuff. I just like the way you said that earlier, and I was disappointed you didn't say make crap. So
I
make lots of crap.
Make lots of crap.
Make lots of crap. That's what he said in between breaks. But I don't know. Like, is that? It feels like we're telling people to wait.
But don't you think that as a society we undervalue the arts? So why can't someone go out and get an internship and be paid get a job doing with a theater company that is valued? Because across the board nationally, we undervalue the arts, right? Trying to get a job at a theater is a coveted job, but if someone were, to be an intern, to learn how to study to be a doctor, yes, it is hard, but they still get paid because they're giving a service. But I also think the arts give a huge service, and we as a culture have devalued the arts. And so instead of, I have to work a 9 to 5 so I can do my art, why isn't that there aren't more 9 to 5 jobs for the arts? You know what I mean? Why is it just a luxury? Why is art considered a luxury and frivolous thing when half the things they teach in school with literature and English are all derived from people who were creative? I don't know.
Everybody wants to consume that stuff. Everybody wants to go home and turn on a TV and watch a funny sitcom or watch a police drama or go see Transformers 5 or whatever. Everybody wants to consume that, and it makes billions and billions of dollars every year. But you're right. Nobody really wants to support the people that are doing that. They just want the end product. I think a lot of times.
Here's where I think come down on it after this whole exploration of today before we wrap up. I think my problem with art, if maybe not the problem, but I think my problem with art is it is not assertive enough. I think, remember when the writer's strike happened and your shows got all messed up and things like that, or that it is it all on us individually, but it's way more fun to pretend art is a person and blame art. Art, grow some spine, art, and show up and demand to exist. And if you make something and if you do something that is important to you that you're creating, I think it is okay to demand that be a part of your life and that exists in whatever way you are capable of demanding it. A dribble before a doodle before you go to bed, or or all the way up to a striking production on a TV show because people aren't getting paid fairly, or working conditions aren't safe, or whatever. But just generally the idea that we should quit apologizing for it and for the craft, that whatever your craft is, that we should quit hiding from it and trying to justify it's hard to track how the money is made in it and this, that, the other. Because Scott, you're right, at the end of the day people want to sit down, they want to turn on their shows, or they want to read a book, or they want something that is produced by artists. And I'm not saying that we should all kiss their ass or our asses or whatever, but I'm saying that it's okay to say, what I do is valuable, and it is different than say constructing a building. But they both provide a certain kind of shelter into the world. So that's kind of where I come down on it. I think I'd like to wrap up for today, because I'm sure this group could go on for weeks, and we would all be very skinny on the other side, but our arguments probably less coherent. So I think we'll end it about here. This is an evolving show. For me, this is the first show that I've just decided to take hold of and say, this is my thing. This is an exploration. This is constantly evolving. And I have no idea if the thing we recorded today is going to be 1 episode or 3 episodes or 2 episodes or whatever. I don't really know how that's going to go. So we'll see when it comes out. And I don't know yet who I'm going to talk to next, but I've got some leads. And I don't know that I'm going to do an interview every time. I'm going to let this be what it is, and each version of whatever it is, each time an episode comes out, I'm going to try to make the most interesting version of whatever it is I'm presenting that episode. So if you do decide to stay on with the show and listen to it, then I promise I'm going to give you something that I at least think is the most interesting version of itself. And if you hate it, next week it'll be different. So try whatever the next one is. But I wanted to take this moment to first thank everybody for being here, but second to extend the openness, the most open of invitations, without thoughts of schedule or anything else, of if you ever want to do one of these with me, 2 for or 3 for everyone as a group again, whatever it is. If anyone ever has just something on their mind and they want to call me up and say, hey, at some point let's do an episode, and this is kind of, chewing on my brain, I would love to have that opportunity. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll see all of you at some point back on the show saying something else. So anyway, thanks very much. You can go to assembler.fm / I don't know. Well, yeah, what? I haven't made up a URL yet, because I don't know if I'm going to go assembler.fm / if you just go to assembler.fm, it'll be there. Look on the show's page, look on the front page, it'll be there. I think we're on most of the social medias as Assembler FM. And I'll post all the links to the stuff we talked about today in the show notes, and I will see whoever is listening and whoever I'm talking to next time. So there we go. That's the end of the show. Goodbye.